But really what you have to say is that, can they get, if they can get bin Laden, they will definitely do it, and they try to do it between now and,
But as you have told me, and every expert says, bin Laden will be caught when someone drops a dime on him, not when we spot him from a satellite.
And I don't think we really need to get him to win this war and win the mines.
But the thing is, Bill, he's losing popularity in that area. Almost everybody agrees. He's causing trouble. The tribesmen don't want al-Qaeda there. Their lives have been disrupted. Now we're bombing them, and some of them are dying because they're in the wrong place at the wrong time. They're blowing up innocent people in the city who are going to work. So al-Qaeda made the same mistakes in Pakistan. If they don't take the country over, I think they're doomed.
Wait, before you answer, Bill, Brian, that was really interesting. Too bad your mic is in your tie.
Oh, it's falling off. Okay.
But let me ask you, as far as...
And they were all pearls.
No.
They were all pearls.
We have to play Trace Adkins later on because we got like 400 emails today asking, did Trace Adkins apologize to you?
No. Well, first we'll play that in a second. But go ahead. What were you saying? Just about...
No, I interrupted.
Right.
Wouldn't it be good PR if we just got him already?
Well,
seriously, Trace, we can't get
it. Yes, we
What's the
can.
holdup?
Yes, we can. This is so retarded. Yes, we can.
Mike Stracco put the guy who was hunting for bin Laden, the only person to put him on in drop shadow, except for Sean Hannity.
Dalton Fury.
Dalton Fury, which is not his real name. The special forces guy that had him in the sights, the guy has disappeared, and he says we can't get him now. We could have got him, but he has disappeared.
Come on.
Well, I mean,
I still don't buy this.
Do you want to have a surge up into sovereign land where you have people going up into the mountains of Pakistan? And no, you're not going to do that for a lot of reasons. And therefore, you're going to wait for a strategic moment, like Brian said. Somebody's going to drop a dime. We're going to, get some intel where he's there at that moment, and that's what you have to do because he's moving around.
Right. This is why I keep the very specific statements for the NIE and the National Intelligence Director, the NID. Saying that we think he's operationally, but he's too concerned about his security to make day-to-day decisions. Excuse me, you haven't said anything like that in 4.5 years.
Right.
Why are you saying that now? Which I find fascinating. So, and also he didn't appear before the elections or after the elections. Here's what the story is today. A reliable FBI source, it can't be you because you're here, Bill, not that you're not reliable. Uniformed police officers have flooded New York City's Penn Station, Long Island Railroad, where I go every day. Law enforcement tells ABC that there's a Madrid-like attack, a reference to the synchronized bombing of the computer trains in 2004. They got the plot. They're looking at it. Following the press release warning by the FBI, the Department of Homeland Security officials in Washington made efforts to dampen public concern, but there's nothing concrete to suggest the plot ever went beyond the aspirational or talking stage. Law enforcement official told ABC News, but this is reliable and knowledgeable information. Here's the thing. That means they're here, right? Or does that mean you're picking up intercepts from overseas that something's going to happen here? Or do you think we're picking it up here?
Well, I think what you're picking up here, in fact, the phrase here is plausible, but yet unverified. And in fact, that comes into, there's talk. There's probably people here who have mentioned it, maybe in communications they picked up, but they have no sense that there's actually people building devices as we speak. So we know it's an intent of theirs. We know now they're perhaps talking about it, particularly because it's the holiday season, and we've seen this before.
Peter King says this: authorities have and he is the top Republican on the House Homeland Security Committee, and he's the lone Republican actually on Long Island to maintain a seat. He says authorities have very real specifics as to who it is and where the conversation took place and who conducted it. He's been thoroughly briefed, correct?
Right. So what I'm saying is at this point they're saying there's conversations. It could be some people here in this country, operatives that have at least been contacted, probably communications from overseas saying, let's try to do this, but they have no indication that somebody is actually wiring something as we speak. However, we've always said that this is one of our Achilles heels in this country. And up until recently, we've had the National Guard at Grand Central. They've still been at Penn Station. There's a talk in New York State about taking them off of these locations as well as Indian Point. It did a story the other day about that because they've been there so long. But I think this is an indication that it's alive and well, particularly at this holiday season.
Look at this. The officials confirmed that the nature of the plot and said that the FBI agents worked through Monday night. So it's hardly something that's without merit to shape the language of a memo sent to local law enforcement. Transit passengers in the larger metropolitan New York area say an increased security presence has been around the coming days. This includes uniformed plainclothes, behavior detection officers, federal air marshals, K-9 teams, security inspectors. So right to New York City, wait for everyone to go holiday shopping. What would that do? not only the bombing hurt our country, but it would destroy the holiday shopping season, which is supposed to infuse our economy.
Right, which is fragile to begin with, and we've always said that. In fact, I think Tracy, we were talking about it a few weeks ago, saying any type of terrorist event at this point would be really decimating to our fragile economy and the efforts being put forward. It's interesting, Brian, you mentioned about people, doing behavioral studies, and it is one of the things that they look for. Besides all the people in uniform and the cameras and the dogs, there are plainclothes people out there who are looking for behavior. You're looking for somebody who, it's not just wearing the big coat, but people who seem not to be deliberate, not to have a place to go, and of course in Penn Station and other places that may be very difficult to discern, but they're looking for behavior that is out of the ordinary. It's not just you and me running for the for the 533 or something. It's different
to me,
behavior.
This stuff is so pedestrian. Like the leaked of a big attack. Isn't that like? I mean, if I were
because it didn't
in the
happen?
Taliban, I'd leak that I'm coming to New York and go somewhere else. It's just so weird to me that something like this gets out. We know everything about it. How could it be?
Well, Tracy, there's also.
I'm so conspiracy theory.
It wasn't leaked. It was intercepted.
Yeah,
and the fact that putting
on purpose.
The fact that putting out a bulletin also has some deterrent effect. It's also saying to these people out there, we know what's going on. We're investigating. We're on top of it. And the hopes is that you neutralize or disperse that.
Right, because now if I'm going to bomb those trains, now I just walk around and I see these dogs and I see these reports and I watch the news. And it's not going to work. I'm not going to be able to pull this off, and I'm going to get killed in the process. The other thing happened is the Macy's Day Parade. So that would be titanic. The whole world watches this parade, which blows my mind because parades are so boring. and they will watch this parade, and if they see things start blowing up,
carry one of those big balloons.
I never wanted to. Never wanted to
balloons.
play in the band there. To me, you should not make people who play an instrument walk. Just playing an instrument should be enough. Let them sit. That's all. All right, so that's what we have in terms of the terror. The other thing is, tell me the situation between, because I only listened with half an ear because we didn't cover it enough. But Ray Kelly is upset with the federal government about the way they're relaying information on the security level to New York City. Feels they got better information than government, or the government's not relaying the information fast enough. What's the tension there, and is it related, you think, to this?
Well, I mean, I don't know specifically whether it's related to this, but I do know that Ray Kelly, and I do know Ray, and I know he's done a very fine job of putting together his own intelligence operation, his own people. He sent folks, around the world. I think right now they have probably about maybe 30 or so police officers deployed around the world gathering information to pull together their own intelligence. And I think he did that because he felt as though he wasn't getting as direct information from the federal government as he felt he needed timely enough to protect New York City. This could be an indication of it, that maybe some other things, that he hasn't gotten, that he feels as though, hey, listen, I'm out here doing the job. I'm in the forefront. I have the tip of the spear, when it comes to protecting New York City. You better be telling me some real-time information.
Right.
Whereas the federal government, a lot of times, passing through the channels of, clearances and what have you, is very reluctant, even to this day, to provide some of this raw data for fear that it gets out and it sends the wrong message.
Isn't that our biggest downfall, the lack of communication between departments? I mean, that you could argue was part of why 9/11 happened in the first place, right? The FBI,
9/11 Commission, came
they
out and said
knew,
that.
right. So, I mean, you would think in this day and age, poor Ray Kelly should not be sending, deploying his own information. That just defeats the whole purpose of us.
It was leaked on
communicating.
purpose. That was leaked on purpose.
What was leaked on purpose? Conspiracy theories.
Right.
You guys can go home. You three can go home.